So there you heard Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman delivering her 9th consecutive budget speech in the lower house of Parliament, and what a budget it's been, with focus on new age sectors like semiconductors and artificial intelligence, and also on skilling and infrastructure. And of course, the three kartavyas, the three responsibilities and duties are what underpin the entire budget. The first being accelerating and sustaining economic growth by enhancing competitiveness and building resilience to volatile dynamics. A second is fulfilling aspirations of people and building their capacities. And the third is Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, a meaningful participation of all.
Budget 2026, the Finance Minister says, is going to be focusing on the potential of the youth, or Yuva Shakti. There is significant focus on budget proposals for biopharma sector as well. We are taking you through some of the highlights. Initiative with an outlay of 10,000 crore over 5 years. That's for the biopharma sector. Biopharma Shakti to tackle the rising non-communicable diseases challenge in the country. Some of the highlights of Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman's address. India Semiconductor Mission 2.0 is launched with 40,000 crore outlay to address the needs and the vision of the decades ahead. Proposal also to support mineral-rich states in the country in particular, in order to harness the potential that they bring to the future of the country. The minister also proposed 7 high-speed rail corridors across India, improving mobility and logistics for the people. The routes primarily are Mumbai to Pune, Pune to Hyderabad, Hyderabad to Bengaluru, Bengaluru to Chennai. These are new high-speed rails. The minister announced creation of mega textile parks as well.
Yes, the Finance Minister also announced the launch of Mahatma Gandhi Gram Swaraj initiative. We'll tell you more about that in a bit. And she has proposed support to ICAI and ICSI institutions too. Besides that, there's a proposal to set up a 10,000 crore rupees MSME growth fund. So a big boost coming in once again for the MSMEs, the medium, small and micro enterprises. A new dedicated freight corridor has been announced connecting the east of India to the west. Also, freight corridor will be promoting green cargo movement. So extremely important for logistics particularly, which again would give a major push to infrastructure, and that will give a further push to demand and to industrial growth, and hence give a boost to growth. National Institute of Hospitality has also been proposed in the budget. The plan is to increase public capital expenditure to 12.2 lakh crores, up from 11.2 lakh crores. So there is an increase of 1 lakh crores there. Infrastructure growth is going to focus on Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. So the government increasingly focusing on Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. PROI investment limit in Indian equities has been proposed to be doubled. So those Indians who don't reside in India but reside elsewhere can now invest more in the equity markets. Increased investment for PROI has been announced by the Finance Minister. The plan is also for developing a medical tourism hub in India, or to develop India into a medical tourism hub.
We're taking you through some of the highlights of the budget speech. Khelo India mission to transform the sports sector gets further boost in Finance Minister's speech. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman delivered about an hour and a half long speech, about 90 minutes long speech. The budget for 26-27, a host of areas focusing on economic growth, aspirations of people and the larger vision of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Yuva Shakti in focus. The minister also announces simplified tax rules for NRIs in her budget address, extended time to revise returns with payments of nominal fees. We see a greater emphasis on compliance than prosecution. As far as taxes are concerned, time limit for filing revised IT returns has been extended to March 31st. Just bringing you up to speed with some of the highlights of the budget speech. States to get 41% share in fund transfer. Rupees 14 lakh crore has been allocated in this domain. 6-month foreign asset disclosure scheme has also been announced for small taxpayer by Finance Minister. The fiscal deficit is seen at 4.4% of the GDP. The Finance Minister saying she fulfills the promise she made of bringing it under 4.5%. Debt to GDP ratio estimated at just over 55%, 55.6%. And those are the highlights that you can see on your screens. Yuva Shakti-driven budget. First, Kartavya, to accelerate sustained economic growth. Second, to fulfill aspirations of the people of the country. And the third, the larger vision of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas taken forward.
So these are the three kartavyas or duties that have been outlined by the finance minister in the budget. The first is to accelerate and sustain economic growth. The second is to fulfill aspirations of the people of India. And the third is to carry everyone along in the development journey. The idea is to promote 7 strategic frontiers for manufacturing. 10,000 crore rupees for biopharma. Shakti has been announced. India's Semiconductor Mission 2.0 has been announced with focus on design, stack and fortifying supply chains. Electronics components manufacturing scheme gets 40,000 crore rupees boost. So this is under the first kartavya of accelerating and sustaining growth. Mineral-rich states will become dedicated rare earth corridors going forward. High-tech tool rooms in PSEs for manufacture of precision components. So focus very much on semiconductors as well as rare earths. And 10,000 crore announced for container manufacturing as well.
And turn to more elements under Kartavya 1, that is to accelerate and sustain growth. Mega textile parks have been announced. Mahatma Gandhi Gram Swaraj initiative to strengthen khadi, handloom and handicrafts. Dedicated initiatives for boosting sports goods manufacturing, research and innovation as well. Significant elements for the youth in the union budget. 10,000 crore for SMEs, growth fund, corporate mitras, a tier of professional services in Tier 2 and Tier 3 towns to help and empower the smaller businesses. Capex increased to 12.2 lakh crore to continue the momentum. Last year it was around 11.2 lakh crore. Increasing focus on Capex. New dedicated freight corridors from Dankuni to Surat, East-West corridor. 20 new national waterways, inland waterways over the next 5 years have also been proposed to be developed. Coastal cargo promotion scheme for a model shift from rail and road. So in that sense, all elements of the economy in focus. Logistics, mobility in particular. 20,000 crore for carbon capture, utilization, storage over the next 5 years. High-speed rail corridors between cities seen as growth connectors. And high-level committee on banking for Viksit Bharat. The banking in a good shape, in good state, according to the finance minister. Time now for next level of development. We still with the first vision of Kartavya 1, accelerating growth, restructuring power finance cooperation and rural electrification cooperation. Persons resident outside of India, PROI, permitted to invest through portfolio schemes. Proposed investment limit in portfolio investment scheme up to 24%.
So that was about Kartavya 1. This is what Kartavya 2 entails, a high-powered education to employment and enterprise standing committee with focus on skilling. Aim to be a global leader in services with 10% global share by 2047. And the impact of emerging technologies including AI on skills and jobs suggest measures as well. So focus by and large on the services sector and on skilling. Adding 100,000 allied health professionals over the next 5 years. Also, a scheme has been announced to support states in establishing 5 regional medical hubs. So, focus there on the health sector. And an announcement was made for setting up 3 new All India Institutes of Ayurveda in the country. So, health continues to be a key focus of the government. It's been announced that there will be upgradation of Ayush pharmacies and drug testing labs, upgradation of WHO Global Traditional Medicine Center in Jamnagar in Gujarat. The National Institute of Hospitality will be upgraded as well. Besides that, there will be support given to high-value crops such as coconut, sandalwood, cocoa in coastal areas. So these agriculture-related announcements. There will be support for cultivation of walnuts, almonds and pine nuts. There will be setting up of NIMHANS 2, upgradation of National Mental Health Institutes in Ranchi and Tezpur. A scheme for development of Buddhist circuits has also been announced. Circuits will be set up in Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, Assam, Manipur, Mizoram and Tripura. And the recommendation of the 16th Finance Commission for devolution at 41% has also been accepted. So we'll talk more about that. Fiscal deficit in the Budget estimates 2026-27 is estimated at 4.3% of GDP. Debt to GDP ratio is estimated at 55.6% of GDP in the budget estimates 2026-27. So very near to what it was previously.
All right, let's also get some updates from the ground, the reactions that are coming in. Let's turn to our correspondents. Tapush Bhattacharya joining us from New Delhi. Shama Mishra is joining us from Mumbai. Shama, if I can come to you first. The stock markets have also been open on a Sunday today. So just take us through what the initial reactions have been. You have with you CII guest as well, I believe.
Well, yes, Shubhendu, I have Ipsita Dasgupta. She is the chairperson of CII Western Region and on the task force of artificial intelligence. We understand that artificial intelligence and the quantum and the semiconductors, these were the important areas of emphasis from the government, and we were all expecting also this in this particular budget. Let's talk to her directly. Initial reaction to the entire budget, and then breaking down to your sector. How did you find this year's budget?
So I found the budget to be actually directionally extremely strong. I'd rate it an 8.5 or 9 out of 10 directionally. But the proof is going to be in the pudding. It depends on how we, what the execution plans are. I think the things that really stood out is manufacturing, corporate parks for manufacturing. I think that's going to be fundamental for us to be able to compete. The focus on semiconductors, the focus on IT was fantastic. Infrastructure investment, it wasn't clear how the infrastructure investment is going to play out, but at least the headlines on waterways and on infrastructure in tier 2, tier 3 cities, I think is going to be key. The MSME support, absolutely critical, and I think combining the MSME support with AI is going to be really important. We are going to have to figure out how to do widespread and wide-scale AI adoption by MSMEs to have them be productive. And then this education to employment focus is a fantastic one. 15,000 content creator labs, fantastic idea. I think the implementation of that as soon as possible is going to be important. That sector is a big sector for us because we're, after all, the land of stories. The focus on inclusion and equity, bringing AI to farmers, focus on women, focus on the disabled, all very impressive.
Like we were talking about, there were various sectors, and this particular, while we were listening to her announcements, it felt that she has touched almost all sectors, from the bigger sectors to down to the coconuts, tofu. Do you see this leading us to the Viksit Bharat, the idea and the dream of Viksit Bharat by 2047?
I think absolutely, and I think the balance was quite nice. I think there was a combination of sort of legacy industries not to be forgotten. It was a wonder that the coconut industry employs 30 million people, according to her in the budget. And at the other end, the tax relief for data center builders and companies that are doing IT. So I think very, very balanced and taking the whole market into account.
Also, while we were waiting, the salaried people were waiting, there was no announcement on that. And how do you see that particular point where the salaried people there was nothing for that? And given the fact that already in the previous year, we did have a bonanza kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's where the balance has come in. I think, we do have a very large informal sector, so a focus on MSME and a focus on people who are not in the formal sector, I think, was really important this time. Also, I think putting money back into the hands of the consumer was also quite significantly done. I think these international tour packages are really talking to salaried people and some of the other aspects like that.
All right, thank you very much. And definitely, like she was mentioning about tourism, and she was mentioning about the areas where salaried people or even people from across the world can come and have the heritage of India. They can see the heritage of India. That's wonderfully done. And we were also listening to her announcements where she was mentioning about the part where in Orissa, the or the turtle nesting area that will also be opening up. So to have a balance between tourism and sustainability, because obviously Government of India would be having in mind not to harm the environment, not to harm these creatures. So we will have to see how beautifully it will be done and what new avenues and doors it would be opening up for India. Shubhendu.
Right, Shyama there. Thanks for joining us with those updates from Mumbai.
Yes, and Tapas is also joining us from FICCI in New Delhi. FICCI is one of the main industry chambers in India. So how is corporate India reacting, Tapas, to the budget?
Mumul, you have to wait for some time before FICCI will be coming out with their own statement. They're right now huddled inside the meeting room where they're discussing the budget in threadbare. But from the looks of it, it seems it's a very positive budget for the simple reason the government has actually taken a look at major investment and putting the money in sectors which are very key for India to become Viksit Bharat, be it MSME sector, be it AI, be it electronics manufacturing. All these things, that the government have put a major push. In fact, when we spoke to some of them, they mentioned the fact that they will be coming up with a statement very shortly. We will be getting you the bite interview of the DG of FICCI, Jyoti Vich. But before that, they informally, it looks like a very good budget from the industry's perspective. When the budget started, the finance minister mentioned the fact that they believe in working rather than government chose reform over rhetoric. So that is one, the minister started with that, and it stems from the fact that the capex proposed at rupees 12.2 lakh crore for 2026-2027 is a huge jump from the earlier one. And also when they mentioned the fact, the finance minister mentioned the fact that they are also giving a major push to the container manufacturing. That's another major point about budgetary allocation of 10,000 crores over the next 5 years is a major push in that direction at the same time. So these are some of the major push from the finance minister, but also finance minister announces the new freight corridor that we've been talking about. In fact, from east to Dankuni, that's there in West Bengal, to all the way to Surat in the west. That is expected to be another game-changing concept that one can have. In fact, if you take a close look, if Dankuni can be connected to the whole of Northeast and beyond the countries, that will also be a major point from the government perspective.
Right, Tapas.
That is another thing. Then Shubhendu, 10,000 crore announcement from MSMEs. Again, we're talking about finance minister mentioned the fact that we need super MSMEs to come up. That's something that finance minister has been mentioning. So all those things have actually pushed the industry, and they're saying that it's a great budget. And as I said, in the India Semiconductor Mission 2.0, that's something that we are all looking forward to, because India this February 2020 will be hosting the AI summit at the same time. So all this are push in the right direction. Shubhendu.
Right, Tapas, stay with us. We'll come back to you for more. Let me welcome Mr. Rajat Kathuria, senior economist, into the program. Mr. Kathuria, welcome to DD India. A budget that is presented as a Yuva Shakti budget to perhaps harness the potential of the demographic advantage. Your key takeaways, sir, on this particular aspect?
Well, on this aspect, I think the budget has gone a long way in identifying sort of various schemes and measures by which you can create employment. I think if one looks at the budget that was presented, and not getting into the macroeconomic situation under which the government presented this budget, maybe later, but focusing on your question, I think the budget does deliver, at least in the announcement it has made, to harness the demographic dividend. We've been talking of the demographic dividend in India for a long, long time, but we haven't been able to leverage it or actually actualize it or realize that demographic dividend. And I think this budget recognizes the fact that while India is growing fairly significantly at 7.5% or thereabouts, the sort of trickle down into job creation hasn't been there. So the employment elasticity of growth has been less than desirable. So rather than leaving it to the market, Finance Minister has decided that it's time for directly intervening into labor-intensive sectors. And I think that's the good sign, and I hope that the implementation gaps that we have been seeing in the previous announcement, not only in the budget but elsewhere, those implementation gaps are bridged. And what I mean by that is that when you make an announcement that you're going to scale up the textile sector, you're going to employ more for the textile sector, you're going to get some remissions for employment creation in the labor-intensive textile sector, the sports goods sector, the tourism sector, the agricultural food processing sector, the fisheries sector. All of these sectors are really, well chosen, well identified by the finance minister. But you have to actualize them, you realize them, because what often happens is that because sort of the skill requirements are not adequate, or you don't find adequately qualified people to work in these sectors, you have to plug that pipeline as well. And there also the finance minister has created some initiatives so that the skill gap that often these sectors face because of lack of training or lack of skilling or lack of sort of education prevents large-scale employment. So I think the finance minister had tried to plug both those gaps. So as far as employment or Yuva Shakti or demographic dividend is concerned, I think the announcements made in the budget are in the right direction. Of course, they cannot be sort of realized in 1 year. This is the direction that the finance minister has provided, that this is the direction that we want to move in. Because what's been happening in the Indian economy is that most of your growth and most of your GDP is coming from the services sector, which is not as employment intensive. And it's also quite informal in its manifestation. So what the finance minister has said, go back to the structural transformation, classical economy, which is...
Yes, let's get some more reactions from ground, and our correspondent Mark Lynn, who's gone through the budget papers extensively, is now joining us. Mark, you've gone through the entire budget in a sense early this morning. So tell us, what do you think is the headline takeaway from the budget to your mind? So many announcements made on the tax front. A lot of announcements made for new age sectors like semiconductors, rare earths, for high-speed trains as well, and artificial intelligence too.
Yes, indeed, Munmun. Clearly, it's a budget that's directed at the youth, as you were saying earlier, and it's a budget that has the tax proposals largely in the indirect taxes sector, with regard to customs duties being exempted or brought down in various areas to encourage people to invest in critical areas, in technology, and establishing data centers in India for cloud computing in the future. So to encourage all this, we can see that the budget is giving incentives to entrepreneurs. Apart from that, it is also a budget that is being described in a sense, or being written in a sense with a mission, because it starts with Kartavya 1, Kartavya 2 and Kartavya 3. And Kartavya 1 is to build the economy, to grow the economy. Kartavya 2 is to fulfill the aspirations, and we can see that the aspirations are largely from the youth. And then we see that Kartavya 3 deals with the distribution and how the distribution should be as equitable as possible, through different, even from the center to the states. So it looks at a holistic approach. Then it also talks about the two aspects of the debt GDP ratio coming down, and the fiscal deficit also coming down to 4.4%, keeping it within the requirements of the FRMB Act.
Right. Mark, stay with us while we also bring in Akshay Dongre, our correspondent who's reporting from Delhi. Akshay, this budget is presented as a Yuva Shakti Youth Power budget. One particular announcement, it would be of interest to them. The AVGC sector gets a particular focus. Some 15,000 content creator hubs are going to be created across schools. And also National Institute of Design gets a boost as well. So in that sense, a lot for the new generation of youth interested in content creation to also get government support.
Well, absolutely, it's becoming a huge industry, Shubhendu, and why not have regulations and why not have, certain lines drawn as far as the regulation of the entire industry is concerned, which is now, frankly, worth billions of dollars in India alone. There is a huge amount of interest that has been there as far as the youth in the content creation sector is concerned, largely unregulated. They had to be at the mercy of the corporates and had to, work without a certain drawn lines. But as the government is showing interest as far as the regulation of this particular industry is concerned, it's going to be huge interest to the youth. There is a range of announcements that have been done by the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman that interest the youth from the MSMEs to the AI startups to other kind of startups to real, to content creation, getting into new professions, setting up India as a global Medicare hub, as well as talking about the tourism sector. All of this, it relates to the youth as far as job creation is concerned, when it comes to creation of content, when it comes to creation of economy and industries here in India by getting into these kind of relevant jobs. So it's not just content creation for the social media anymore. It has taken a form of advertisement. You have content creator promoting things. So it's obviously a promotional business that's also going on right now through the youth and as well as other people who are involved in the content creation industry. Then if you look at the tourism sector, there's a lot of involvement of the youth as well as in form of guides, in form of people who represent the industry. They will also be given a proper training, proper guidelines will be set up. In some of the top institutes in the India, including the IIMs, will be roped in as far as the training of these people are concerned. So it's a wholesome budget that has been announced. Several of the details are emerging as we speak right now as far as the details of the fine print of the budget is concerned. But as far as the youth is concerned, there is a lot to get from it, and especially as you have rightly mentioned, the content creation section that has gathered a lot of interest from the youth and will be helping a lot of people who are into content creation get established into the industry as well as into the sector.
Right, Akshay, stay with us. Munmun, shall we now take the conversation forward and invite our guests in the studio into the discussion? Let me welcome Prasenjit Basu, Senior Economist, also Shubhaman Bhattacharjee, Senior Economic Journalist, and Rajat Kathuria, I'm told, Senior Economist, continues to be with us. Warm welcome to both of you in the studios. Host of things to talk about just after the budget, but what really stood out for you? Shubhaman, I'll start with you. Just the big ideas that stood out for you in the budget.
Right. First of all, the context. And given that context, which Rajat was rightly pointing out, this was a difficult time to do the India budget. So what the finance minister has done is, she has hit all the right sectoral notes. This is a very difficult thing to do. The foreign investment that's not coming into India, and in fact you saw the markets not being very enthusiastic, is because of factors that are beyond India. The finance minister of India cannot set those factors right. The Trump tariffs, the tantrums. So what she has done has been absolutely right. She has gone in for what needs to be fixed within the Indian economy. And as the comments coming from different places are making out, she has looked at where the labor intensity of Indian economy can be pushed further.
Yes. Like textiles.
Textiles, content creation, tourism, right. All of these sectors are huge employment creators. Not only tourism, she's looked into it and also dissected into medical tourism and general tourism. Right. So, these are very difficult sectors, but these are the sectors that need support.
I think each of these sectors we'll talk about in detail, Shubhaman, but we have to head for a short break here. Lots more coming up in our comprehensive coverage of the Union budget. Stay with us.
Stay tuned.